Kia ora, welcome to episode 93 of Talking Dairy. In today's podcast, we'll be diving into the upcoming People Expo events and what they're all about, designed to support farmers to power productive workplaces. The People Expos are a popular event series run annually for farmers and rural professionals, delivered in partnership by DairyNZ and Dairy Women's Network. This year, there are 4 opportunities to attend across March and April in Oamaru, Ashburton, Hawera and Hamilton. On this episode, we are excited to host Dairy Women's Network Chief Executive Jules Benton and leading economist Shamubeel Eaqub, who will be speaking at each of the upcoming events. Jules will walk us through what farmers can expect at this year's expos, the benefits you can gain from attending, and a bit about what the day will look like. Shamubeel will provide a taster of what he'll be talking to, including insights on workforce trends on a global, national and regional scale, and how we continue to drive the productivity and efficiency which New Zealand's dairy story has been built on. So stay tuned for more about what these events can offer you. Tēnā korua, thanks for joining us today, Jules and Shamubeel. I would like to start by getting to know you both outside of the headlines. Jules, tell us a little about yourself. How did you come to be leading the Dairy Women's Network?
Thanks, Jack. So I joined Dairy Women's Network in 2018 after having followed them for quite some time and was pretty inspired with what they did as an organisation. Strong connections with dairy, hail from Taranaki, so grandparents on both sides were involved in dairying, and my father was a cheesemaker in South Taranaki, so very connected to the dairy sector, however not a dairy farmer.
Thank you. And what do you do outside of work to keep yourself busy?
I'm an avid exerciser. Someone said to me the other day that I'm addicted to exercise. I'm not addicted to exercise. It's just part of my life. I love it. So we've got phenomenal facilities in Cambridge, which is where my husband Andy and I live. So we're very fortunate to live in the heart of the Waikato and enjoy, the cycleways. We've got a beautiful pool. We've got an amazing Karapiro lake. So definitely, exercise, but a DIY. Well, I share the ideas and then I get my husband to execute. But that's the CEO, right?
That's
you never
right,
leave your CEO role.
Look, we each have to play to our strengths. That's what a team is about.
Love the Cambridge community. It's very much along the same lines as Taranaki, that strong rural connection. It's a lovely community to live in. So I feel really fortunate.
Thank you, Jules. And to you, Shamubeel. Tell us a bit about yourself. What's your background? How did you come to be working with Dairy Women's Network and talking to farmers?
Jules and Jane asked me if I'd like to come along and talk to their People Expo. And we did it, I think, the first one a couple of years ago. And it was just so much fun. And we had, I think, such good feedback. We wanted to do it again. So my background is as an economist. And so I'm kind of bringing the outside view in. What's going on in the world? What's happening in New Zealand? What's happening with people issues? But also specifically, what does it mean for the dairy farmers?
And what do you do outside of work?
Well, I've got 2 young boys, so family takes up most of my time. And so it's a lot of fun. My boys are very high energy, so lots of biking, lots of hiking, lots of going to the beach and that kind of stuff. And New Zealand is the perfect place for that.
We're incredibly lucky. Jules, the People Expos have been running for several years now and are especially popular with farmers who employ and manage people, of course. For those who might not know, can you share a bit about what these events are all about and what farmers can expect this year?
Absolutely. So the People Expo is about powering productive workplaces. So we look to get a greater understanding of what a productive workplace looks like for the farming business and those that have got team members, and sharing ideas and basically working smarter, not harder, and capitalising on the great natural resources we have along with great people and bringing that to life through leadership and technology.
Can you give us a brief overview of the day? How's it structured?
Arrival around 9:30 for a connection time and meet and greet. And then we lead in with Jane Muir, who heads up the people team at DairyNZ. So she gives an intro to the day. I also share why Dairy Women's Network partner with DairyNZ. So we're very much in a collaborative space and working with a partnership methodology. So we don't want to duplicate what we're doing and what DairyNZ's doing. So it's a great partnership to share leadership and learning. And then we lead into the first session, which Shamubeel takes us through everything that we need to know about global economics, around what's happening overseas, the geopolitical sense. And I think that Shamubeel makes economics really, really interesting. And each year we go, how can we be better next year? And we've got a fantastic lineup, and Shamubeel sets the scene. And I think we're incredibly lucky to have his wisdom and insights and knowledge. And then we lead into this year, we've got two amazing farming businesses from Canterbury. They just happen to be Canterbury. And they're going to take us through their journey of what leadership looks like to them, how they've embraced technology. Two quite different approaches to this, but there is a strong focus around people, and they're not running average dairy farms. That's a comment we heard the other day. They don't want to be average farmers, so they're really embracing everything that there is to offer around people, leading people and embracing technology.
As you said, there's an exciting lineup of speakers, including Shamubeel, who we will hear more from shortly. What would you say to farmers wanting to know how this event can benefit them and their farm business?
I think with any event that you attend, if you come along with an open mind, park the farming business that you've currently got and then look at the opportunities to learn from other farmers, because I think farmers are great at sharing what they're doing on farm. And if there's one thing that you take away from the People Expo and take back to your farm, to your business, to your farming team and implement, then I think that we have been successful in imparting some really good knowledge. And so I think it's just come with an open mind and see what's possible. And you're going to hear what's possible from the farmers that we've got, but also Shamubeel setting the scene and then rounding that out with James Allen, who heads up Ag First and also a recent Nuffield scholar, and sharing about how to embrace technology, talking about AI, which is around us, happening, has been for a number of years, but it's really coming into its own now, and we're hearing it a lot more. How do we embrace that for our farming business today, but in the future?
You mentioned James's Nuffield. Is he speaking to that?
Yeah, he's going to pull out some wee gems of that, and I would highly recommend that prior to coming to the People Expo, if you get a chance to read his paper, it's very, very interesting. James will obviously summarise that and share those insights, but it's a lot around technology, a lot around AI and embracing AI, but also what do people relationships look like in the future, and I think that's the gold that James is going to share on the day.
All sounds very fascinating, thank you. Now to you, Shamubeel. You're a leading economist and backed by popular demand at this year's People Expos. I heard you a couple of years ago and you were very, very interesting and challenging. What can farmers expect to hear from you at this year's events?
Look, we'll have to talk about what's happening out in the world. We know that there is tariff wars, there is uncertainty in geopolitics, what's going to happen to the cost of interest rates and exchange rates. So I'll talk a lot about that economist stuff. I'll also talk about, I guess, what's happening in New Zealand, because I think we're all living in the community. And then also talk about, I guess, the longer term trends in dairy, a lot of the successes, but also some of the challenges that we face. But the big thing that I want to end on is setting up the rest of the day. That the issues that we face in the dairy sector, we're not alone. The labour shortages are being experienced by other parts of New Zealand. It's happening globally. I'll talk a little bit about what kinds of things can you do? How can you invest in yourself, in your people? How can we make sure we get people so upskilled and being paid so much that they can't leave? Right? We want to trap them with good jobs and good skills. So we'll talk about a lot of that kind of stuff. It's all about, I think, giving people the idea that, yes, there are things that are happening out in the world that can seem a bit scary, but we also have choices that we can make. And it's about those choices that this day is really about. And my talk is really about setting that up.
And I'm curious, how is what you're going to tell us this year different from what we may have heard 2 years or 4 years ago?
I think what has changed is the world is probably even less certain than it was. And the issues with people are probably even more pressing than we have experienced before. But also the opportunities with technology and other things have probably become much more realistic. And I think the big thing for me that's different this year is that we really need better people, better leadership, better culture, if we're to take advantage of the opportunities that are here today. So to me, that feels quite optimistic. I think last couple of years, it felt a little bit hard because prices were falling, profits were down. But this year, a lot of those conditions are a lot better. And I think we should be getting ready to invest in our businesses. And that's exciting and it's optimistic. And to me, that's really different.
True. You've talked a little bit about productivity. Productivity in the workplace is a complex challenge to tackle. What sorts of insights and tips can farmers expect to gain from these events that are easy to implement on their farms? This question is for both of you.
From the economist perspective, the productivity story is dairy actually stands out as a sector that's done extraordinarily well over the course of the last 30 years, but that improvement is slowing. So there is a real imperative on us to go, what else can we do to pick up our mojo? But we also know that it's not going to be the same things that worked for us in the past. It might be new things. And that's about mindset, it's about investment, it's about people, it's about skills, it's all of those things. So I'll talk a little bit about what's worked in the past and then really, again, open it up for these practitioners to tell us what opportunities they see in the farms today.
Jules, do you have anything to add or extend upon?
I think just building on what Shamubeel just said, the two farmers, farming business owners that have been selected this year or asked to speak are true practitioners. So it's in practice. They're doing it within their farming businesses. They want to share that story. They're very open about it. Productivity, there's so many upsides for productivity, right? It's to Shamubeel's point, we retain more people, it's more meaningful work, we get our heads up above maybe the grass or the clouds, however you want to look at it, and go, what's next? What's next for my farming business? But ultimately, what's next for my farming team as well to help them reach their goals? We want to keep great people within this sector, and there are huge opportunities, and that opportunity is growing for these people. So how great that we can see successful farming business owners, but also the teams that they employ as well.
James Allen will be speaking on Agritech trends and the possibilities for the future, as Jules mentioned. What's your view, Shamubeel, on how this will change what farm teams might look like?
The brilliant thing about dairy is it has always been great at adopting technology. Whether it's the milking shares or the genes or whether it's about the way that we do our pasture management. So there's been a huge amount of science that's already been adopted and diffused through our dairy industry. But the next bit that's coming is a different type of technology. It's much more likely to be high-tech, much more software-based and all of those kinds of things. And that means the type of people who will work on a farm will be entirely different. So the attributes that we're looking for, the skills that we're looking for are different. And that's a really big challenge, right? In terms of we're actually hiring people who are more like software engineers or software users rather than people who are farmers. So there is a really big paradigm shift that's coming. And it's happened in many industries. But in my mind, I think that is probably one of the most important insights we're going to get from James, that the types of people we're recruiting for and what they need and how they work is so different that we have to change as well. And our workplaces have to change to be able to make the most of them.
It feels like there is a shift from thinking that technology will replace the people on farm to, as you say, understanding that it'll improve productivity, but we still need those people and we, as you say, need higher skills, different skills.
Absolutely. Look, technology has never done away the need for humans. It's just that humans do different things. And that's why I think we should, again, be optimistic that there is lots of good things we can do. I think fear holds us back from taking advantage of those opportunities that are there. It is different and it can be scary unless you are prepared. And that's why this People Expo is so important, because it's all about opening people's eyes and making them see the opportunities that are there. But that opportunity is not going to come to you if you just wait. You have to change yourself. You have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in your business and your people. So to my mind, it's all about that collection of things that you do that gives you that ability to do things. Technology on its own is nothing. Anybody can have technology, but doesn't mean it works well in your business.
That's right. Thank you. Now, finally, there's a lot that People Expos have to offer, but what's the one thing about this year's Expo that you don't want farmers to miss, Jules?
I think it's, once again, Shamubeel providing a view on what that landscape looks like, and it's very different to the previous 2 years that when he's been along and speaking and leading at the People Expos. We've also got the 2 farming businesses coming along, sharing what they're doing. So each farming business is quite unique, and what you do within that business is unique to you and your farming team, your goals and aspirations. So you get to hear firsthand. One is that strong, from leadership and leading people, whereas the other farming business is still leadership, but embracing software and technology, but also understand you don't have to embrace the full breadth of that software, that you can do it in steps, those micro steps, so you don't have to implement everything at once, and you choose what you want to do for your farming business. So understand your farming business and then implement what's going to serve you well in the short, medium and long term.
I guess that speaks to the courage that Shamubeel mentioned. You don't have to adopt it all, but by going to the People Expo, you'll hear something that you can implement, that you do have the control to start with. Shamubeel, what's the one thing that you don't want farmers to miss, aside from, obviously, your presentation?
I listened to all the speakers in all of the last 2 expos that I've been involved with, and the thing that really got me was just how inspiring the farmers are. The farmers who were speaking, they had so much knowledge to give, so much inspiration to excite. And that was really cool, right, to see these guys who are doing it and doing a really great job, and they really want to share and encourage others to do the same. So to me, if there's nothing else you come for, those farmers, what they share is practical, it's interesting, it's insightful, and in my mind at least, it's really inspiring.
Thank you. Jules, you've talked about how we have 2 farm businesses coming to People Expo to share their knowledge. How did you select them, and how would you describe them to other farmers?
I think that they have been selected on the grounds that they run incredibly successful businesses. So they're strong business leaders, they're strong within their wider community and doing great things within their community with other businesses, which happen to be farmers.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of today's episode. Ngā mihi nui to Jules Benton and Shamubeel Eaqub for giving us a taster of what to expect at the upcoming People Expos. There are 4 opportunities to attend a People Expo. This year's events are coming to Oamaru on the 11th of March, Ashburton on the 13th of March, Hawera on the 1st of April, and Hamilton Kirikiriroa on the 2nd of April. This really is a don't miss it event. Every year we get incredible feedback from attendees, as we've heard, and this year is looking to be better than ever. If you employ or manage people, we strongly encourage you to get along and gain ideas on getting your team working in a way that delivers better outcomes. It's about working smarter, not harder. Registrations are essential, lunch is provided, I'm sure it will be delicious, and the events are free to attend. Find all the details, including how to register, at dairynz.co.nz/peopleexpo. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Talking Dairy. Make sure to hit follow so you can keep up to date with our latest episodes. You can also keep up with DairyNZ News on Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn, or go to our website and sign up for our fortnightly DairyNZ News emails. As always, if you have any feedback on this podcast or have some ideas for future topics or guests to have on the show, please email us at talkingdairy@dairynz.co.nz. Mā te wā, mauri ora, catch you next time.